Hey guys, it's your boy Charlie here, and today I want to do something different. I haven't really done something like this before, and that's basically give like an overview, to give like a review and to highlight some certain things on a film. And that film is a Pixar film, you can imagine. A Pixar film, and for someone that's not really into Pixar films, when you're talking of Finding Nemo, when you're talking of Cars, like even from a young age, I used to hate that film so much. Like, just seeing it around and people talking about it, I didn't understand why people be so obsessed with cars and talking fish. Like, I can understand if you like Mulan or something, like at least something like that, but cars and that. But anyway, so I'm not gonna lie, Pixar, they did their thing. Like, they really got me on this one, and they got me on this one because the storyline of this film is so basic, but yet the concept and the questions after the film is so deep, especially for a kids film as well. So the film we're talking about is a film called Soul, and then you'll probably ask what it's about. And for those that have seen the film, this is probably for those that haven't seen the film, I highly recommend that you do check it out. If you have seen the film already, I'm quite curious to know what you think about the film, especially in the comments as well. So I'm quite curious to know what you picked up, and if you also picked out some of the stuff that I picked out from it. So yeah, that would be interesting to see. Yeah, so what's the film? So the basic storyline of the film is that it's about this guy called Joe. And Joe, you can relate with him in a sense because he's someone who's going through a midlife crisis in some ways. He has a strong desire and a strong passion for a career in jazz, but he's not quite there yet. He is facing all types of difficulties at home. He's got family on his case, like not really taking him and his job seriously. He's also got financial pressures, and then he within himself, like, he's not really where he wants to be. So you can understand and you can relate with him, especially if you're an artist, if you're someone that has ambition, has dreams, somewhere you want to get to, and you're not quite there. So automatically I feel like that's a lot of people, including me myself. So yeah, so what happens is that he gets this lucky big break. He gets this chance to perform for an icon called Dorothy, I think that's her name. And he gets the audition, he passes the audition, but unfortunately for him, on his way to the night of the first performance for Dorothy, or with Dorothy, he falls inside this hole and he dies. And that's where the film takes off. And the film takes off because he becomes this blue thing, and this blue thing is what they call soul, or the soul. And it basically takes off from there, and he enters a spiritual realm, and then he there finds out what it means to have strong desires, strong passion for something. He also knows the meaning of this physical existence called life, or the spiritual existence called life. And then over there, he also helps someone to find out their desires and things like that. So yeah, so that's where the film just became so deep, because it was so basic, but yet there's so many questions about it. And for someone that's spiritually conscious, someone that's spiritually aware, you would have like these questions and have these constant questions just throughout your life in general. But then you have this understanding as well that we're not just living in this world just to exist. That's one of the things I picked up from this film, knowing the difference between this physical reality and the spiritual realm. And for someone, and the difference between that as well, because obviously over here we are bound, we are mortal, obviously we're bound by our 5 senses. We can feel, we can touch, smell, sight, all those kind of things. But then over there, the main difference is that you're operating beyond time and beyond space. Another thing is that you can't really touch or feel, and that's what the film did project in this film. You can't really touch, can't really feel anything solid. And yeah, that's another thing to mention as well, that as someone who has that understanding that we live or coexist, hand in hand, there's that spiritual realm and the physical realm, and how we operate within those realms is that we are not just our human bodies ourselves. What makes us, like what makes you, what makes me, is that soul within us. And that's with our, personality traits, our, ambitions, our goals, and things we like or what we don't like, our characters, all that kind of thing. So I feel like this film did a good job in presenting that. And I was quite curious as well to know how people think, especially if you're watching it. I feel like most people are watching this film, they're watching this film with the lens on. What I mean by that is, if for someone that has faith, you're watching this, your perceptions, your belief systems, all of that. If for someone that doesn't have faith, new age, etc., watching this film with what you're taught and what you believe. So yeah, so that was one thing to mention from it. And another thing to mention was that when Joe was on the other side, Joe came across someone who is his soul tie or soul mate. And I feel like Pixar did a good job in presenting that in that concept of things. Having someone that you are spiritually linked with in this universe or, you know, beyond, whether that might be like in that relationship, it might be, you know, you're with. It might also be counselor, like a spiritual guide, director, don't know what you call it, but or it might even be a friend as well. So I do believe that things like that does exist. And when you're watching that film, it's going through your mind all types of questions. You're thinking, obviously, who's your soul tie, who's your person that you're linked with. Is it a friend? Is it someone to guide you through this life, in this life, beyond this life? It was quite interesting just to see how that comes about. Another thing to mention was the astral projection, like the astral projection concept as well. And I do believe that. But then, because even with this film, there was all types of enchantments, all types of chanting and things like that. And I was thinking, for a kid's film, do they actually know what's actually going on? Or are they just watching and just, you know, it's all, you know, at the end of the day, I guess you got to protect the child's innocence. But yeah, so they were doing all types of enchantments and things like that. And whenever he would play this music, he would feel this thing called the spark. And so when he felt this spark, it was almost like him channeling his energy, channeling his emotion, channeling everything inside what he was doing, to the point that it made him connect to a realm beyond this physical realm. And when he did that, it was quite interesting just to see that, because I do believe this practice has been going on throughout the world since the beginning of time, in all types of the world, in all types of countries, all types of cultures, all types of languages. But one thing I do know is that obviously when you're paying attention to things like that, you got to be kind of careful, because even when you're on here just looking through things and seeing what people practice and just reading about it, because sometimes it can go to someone's head and they start, you know, bugging out and start doing crazy stuff. But one thing I do know is that we're not supposed to practice it. All this is like, sometimes people go overboard, and that's where you got to be kind of careful when it comes to all these spiritual awareness type of things, and people telling you to channel their chakra and all that. I do believe that there's extent that, yeah, there's some practicality in it, but then having that with a limitation, because and knowing when to stop. There's certain things you're not really supposed to know. So yeah, that was quite important as well. So I feel like that was picked up in this film. And there's other things in there in terms of what it means to have a lost soul, what it means to, you know, power of the mouth and word and things like that. And I do recommend that people do check out this film called Soul. And I'm quite interested to know what your thoughts and your belief systems are, what your views on this film are, and what you took from it, even your experiences as well. So be sure to comment and do check out the film. And yeah, I'll keep in touch with more content, not necessarily around this stuff, but things around this. So yeah, so be sure to subscribe, be sure to like, be sure to comment and share if you like. And yeah,